On the quiet night of June 9, 1912, the small town of Villisca, Iowa, became the scene of one of the most horrifying and still unsolved mass murders in American history when 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their beds with an axe, an act that would forever haunt the Moore residents and embed itself into the annals of true crime and paranormal lore, as the family of Josiah Moore, his wife Sarah, and their 4 children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, along with 2 young guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger, who had come over for a church event and were invited to stay the night, were all slain, sometime after midnight by a killer, who slipped into the house under the veil of darkness and unleashed unthinkable violence, beginning with Josiah and Sarah in the master bedroom, each receiving blows so violent that Josiah's face was unrecognizable, his eyes reportedly missing from their sockets, followed by the children, who were struck with the same brutality, some with evidence of post-mortem strikes that left gouges in the ceilings. From the force of the weapon, a long-handled axe that was found later in the house, left leaning against the wall, still smeared with dried blood and strands of hair, while the 2 Stillinger girls, sleeping in a guest room, were also murdered, with Lena possibly being the only one who awoke during the attack, her body found in a different position and her nightgown pulled up, suggesting a possible assault. Although no definitive evidence was found to confirm this, and with the murder scene disturbingly arranged, as all the mirrors were covered with cloth, the victims' faces were draped with garments, and a slab of bacon wrapped in a towel was left beside the axe, alongside a bowl of bloody water, leading to endless speculation about the killer's state of mind or ritualistic intent, and the doors were locked from inside, meaning the murderer had either stayed inside for a time or left, without anyone noticing, a terrifying notion that paralyzed the town with fear. As authorities began the investigation with few leads and no solid suspects, although attention soon turned to a traveling preacher named Reverend George Kelly, a peculiar man who had attended the church event that evening, and left town early the next morning, later confessing under intense pressure only to recant, his confession thrown out due to inconsistencies in trial ending in acquittal, while other suspects included Frank F. Jones, a wealthy local businessman and state senator with whom Josiah had a bitter business rivalry, leading some to suspect he hired someone to carry out the killings, possibly William Mansfield, a known serial killer suspected in similar axe murders, but nothing was ever proven, and despite investigations by local law enforcement, private detectives, and even the Burns Detective Agency, no one was ever convicted, the case growing colder with time as rumors, theories, and legends grew in its place, and the house itself, preserved over the decades, began gaining notoriety, not just as a crime scene, but as one of the most haunted locations in America, with reports from visitors and paranormal investigators describing cold spots, unexplained voices, footsteps, shadow figures, children's laughter and crying, doors opening or closing on their own, and recordings capturing mysterious whispers and screams, with many unable to stay the night due to intense feelings of dread, nausea, or the sense of being watched, some leaving in the middle of the night in fear, and some even claiming to be physically touched or scratched by unseen forces, all contributing to the belief that the spirits of the victims still linger, unable to move on due to the violent nature of their deaths, the lack of justice, and the immense fear that blanketed their final moments, with the house now a chilling tourist attraction open for day, tours and overnight stays, featured on countless paranormal TV shows and documentaries, drawing ghost hunters, skeptics, and thrill-seekers from around the world hoping to experience the lingering energy firsthand. While the story continues to fascinate and horrify over a century later, its details etched in the walls of the small white house on 508 East 2nd Street, where time stands still, the air is thick with sorrow, and the question of who committed the murders still echoes like a haunting whisper through the rooms, as the town of Villisca carries the dark legacy of the night when evil visited a peaceful home and left behind a mystery soaked in blood and silence, a story that has inspired books, films, podcasts, and endless speculation, yet remains ultimately unresolved, the identity of the killer a phantom that continues to torment the imagination of all who learn of the case, as theories range from traveling serial killers to religious fanatics, jealous lovers to business enemies, with some even suggesting the killer returned to the scene, or remained hidden in the attic before the murders, adding to the terror and uncertainty. And with modern forensic science, unable to retroactively solve the crime due to degradation of evidence and mishandling during the early stages of the investigation, the case is now more of a ghost story than a legal one, a chilling reminder of the fragility of safety and the darkness that can descend without warning. And as the wind blows through the empty rooms and creaking floorboards of the Axe Murder House, it carries with it the unresolved screams of those lost, the heavy silence of a town frozen in time, and the never-ending question that lingers like a curse. Who wielded the axe that fateful night and why?